Hello! If you're watching this video, then this is a re-upload of my film review on Obsession. I'm just going to use this additional segment to ask you to subscribe to the channel with notifications on. I'm a horror themed channel, so if you want to see films like Obsession or additional horror content recapped to you in the style of story format with a hint of narration and a bit of true crime, then stick around because your support makes this possible. And also, Obsession is an absolute masterpiece and it deserves its own video in this style. Any excuse to do a deep dive on this movie, I'm so up for it. So with that being said, I hope you enjoy the video. I've just got back from the cinema. It's safe to say I am shitting bricks. I'm shitting so many bricks that I could build a house. Oh, okay. Today in this film review we are going to be talking about Obsession. And I'm going to say this straight off the bat, everything is down to a T. This film is a masterpiece. I'm not just saying that to hype up this film because it's a horror film and this is a horror channel. This is probably one of the best things that Blumhouse has put out in ages. Besides the Black Phone 2. So we're just going to get into this. So spoiler warning ahead. We are going to be getting into spoilers because it is so worth summarising. We're just going to get straight into it. I'm going to be reading the synopsis from IMDb. Bear is a quiet, emotionally guarded young man who works at a second-hand instrument store and spends much of his time longing for Nikki, a co-worker he has never found the courage to approach romantically. Encouraged by his best friend Ian to finally make a move, Bear tries to convince himself that he still has time to say what he feels. But after returning home one day to a devastating personal loss, his loneliness and grief leave him vulnerable than ever. This loss being his cat. It was a shock, and we'll get to the shocks later. When Nikki invites him out for a trivia night with their friends, Bear sees a chance to get closer to her. On the way, he stops at a small new age gift shop in hopes of replacing a sentimental item she had recently lost. He is drawn to a strange novelty called a one-wish willow, a small charm that claims to grant a simple wish when snapped in two. What begins as a harmless joke becomes something far more serious after an awkward encounter with Nikki. Nikki leaves Bear embarrassed, desperate and afraid that he missed his chance. In a moment of weakness, Bear makes a wish for Nikki to love him more than anyone else in the world. And we'll get back to that. At first, the wish appears to give him exactly what he wants. Nikki suddenly becomes affectionate, attentive and eager to be with him, turning Bear's long-held fantasy into a reality almost overnight. But as their new relationship develops, her devotion begins to feel less like love and more like obsession. See, said the thing. Her behaviour, however, grows increasingly intense. She's more erratic and unsettling, while Bear struggles to understand whether Nikki is simply in a crisis or whether something far darker has taken toll. As friends begin to notice the disturbing changes in Nikki, Bear is forced to confront the consequences of trying to control another person's heart. What seemed like a shortcut to love becomes a dangerous and unpredictable nightmare, pushing him into a world of guilt, fear and escalating horror. With the line between affection and possession rapidly collapsing, Bear must face the terrifying possibility that the wish he made cannot be undone. This is a pretty basic plot, but it does it in a way that keeps you hooked and engaged and allows you to enjoy the film without overthinking it, which is a nice, fresh adaptation of this kind of story we've seen before. So this film is written and directed by Curry Barker, who has also been doing some YouTube stuff for a long time, and it's nice to see that YouTuber horror films are kind of taken over Hollywood. We've seen it before with Talk to Me by Raka Raka. We've seen it recently with Iron Lung by Markiplier, one of the best films I've ever watched. Overall, this is an amazing watch, and I do recommend it if you haven't seen it already. We're just going to get into some bits that I really like and I think were executed perfectly in this film. To start us off, the acting. Holy shit, the person who plays Nikki did an amazing job. She is like Pearl level crazy, and if you don't know, Pearl is a really good horror film and a personal favourite of mine. Her range from this film alone is insane. She can come across as warm and affectionate in one scene and then completely psychotic in another. Going from that to that in an instant is incredible, and she's executed this character so well. Bear as well is another standout performance. He manages to keep us engaged throughout the entire film. Well, he managed to keep me engaged throughout the entire film. His range is also impressive, especially that scene in the car after everything's unfolded and he just screams and lets it all out. It's crazy, and to have that sort of range is just brilliant. It's good to have a character like this in a film. It keeps the audience engaged. I didn't want to turn away from the screen at all because I was just that glued to the screen because of both of these performances. Ian, who is the right-hand man for Bear, also incredible. He provides us with some comic relief, which doesn't take away from the overall narrative that this story is trying to tell. A really good performance. The scene where Bear and Ian are talking off to the side in the store, and Nikki is still looking over at them while he's just like cracking jokes and like completely caught off guard of everything that's happened. It's a really good performance as well when it comes to the end where like he doesn't believe in the whole wish things and he just wishes for what anyone would wish for when they had one wish. He just simply says, I wish for $1 billion. Boom. And you could just see the soul leave Bear's body because that was his ticket out, and this fuck-ass idiot has just spent it on money, which, to be fair, in that situation, I'd wish for money too. And that comes back to play later when the whole plot is unraveled and she's gone crazy. He comes in the house, he's like, hey, oh my god, this thing really works. I actually got $1 billion. Just shot in the face by Nikki. Was not expecting it. Which is another thing that this film does really well. Shock tactics. It gives you heartwarming moments that you think, oh, this is so sweet. It's a nice breath of fresh air. There's a moment where Sarah and Bear are in the car and they're talking about Sarah getting into college. This was like her last letter because she'd been declined by the rest of them, and we don't find out until later that Sarah got in. This is purely because Bear sneaks out away from Nikki, and how do I describe this without getting monetized? Nikki runs up to the car, smashes through the windshield, and repeatedly slams Sarah's head into the steering wheel. What the fuck? It's little moments like that that catch you off guard, and it works in the film's favour because you couldn't expect anything because it was just out of nowhere, and I think a film like that is peak. It's peak. I like not knowing things. This film, holy shit. Another thing I do want to mention is the use of gore. I feel like gore in like horror, it's lost its charm, it's lost its fear factor. So this was a nice breath of fresh air because it's not always gore in your face. It doesn't rely on that to be scary. When it does use gore in the right moments, it makes the scene more impactful. It's not something like Terrifier or Saw where it's like gore constantly in your face, you just become like desensitized to it. But this film and the use of gore is perfect. When Sarah's getting her face smashed against the wheel, it is hard to watch because there's not been much gore up until now. It's used effectively and it is spot on. I can't put it in any other words. It's just brilliant and you need to watch it. Now, this worked in Nikki's favour a lot. When it came to her being creepy or scary or speaking in like an uncanny way, the use of camera angles backs up this point, and it just makes you think, what the fuck am I watching? It genuinely does have you on like the edge of your seat and like expecting the unexpected. So I do think the use of camera angles was effective in this way as well. A prime example of this is when she's just in the corner of the room and straight up says to Bear, I'm watching you sleep. I think you look cute when you're like sleeping. Who the fuck says that in their right mind? So it is like a nice change, and it's really nice to see that use of camera angles be put to use like that. It's brilliant. I'm not sure if I've talked about this or not, but the pacing for the film as well. It didn't feel like 2 hours, it felt like an hour. There was no bumps in the road for the plot, it was very easy to follow, and we were just from like scene to scene to scene to scene. And sometimes that can be quite jarring, but this does it in a way that's like comfortable and relaxing. It's a nice flow, and it's not something that will leave you bored. So points to that as well. Another thing I do want to talk about as well is the music score. Holy shit. I don't know who did the music for this film, but they were fucking cooking. It's like the meme of the guy on the piano, it's just on fire, because the score in this film works in its favour. It helps emphasise certain moments that are supposed to be scary, and it is executed perfectly. Honestly, if it comes out on vinyl, I'm pretty sure it has, I'm going to pick it up. And finally, another thing I do want to talk about is the genre. of what it is. And I think this is quite interesting. So, according to IMDb, the genre is dark romance, which, yeah, psychological horror. I do love a good psychological horror. Psychological thriller, supernatural horror, horror, romance, just straight up romance, and a thriller. But no, this is a great movie, and it's definitely something you should go and watch. This was also my reaction to when the credits started rolling after the ending.
We've just finished watching Obsession. What did you think? That was terrifying.
That was something else.
I shit myself a few times, I can't lie.
So yeah, that's about it. Obsession was released in 2025, but it would only make its way into cinema in 2026. With the success of the film being on a budget of $750,000 to like tripling that amount of money, like over a few weekends, I want to see where it goes. I do want to see if this becomes a cult classic. There's already an iconic scene at the restaurant which has been shared over social media loads and loads and loads of times.
No, no. Oh, don't do that! I thought we were having a nice time!
So it is nice to see a horror film dominating the box office charts so far. Also, thank you for making it through the video, because this is the first time I've done facecam. And there'll be more to come, hopefully. But with that being said, I've been James from Horror Recapped, and remember to keep it spooky, whatever the season.